Let's get start demo first. So here I build a .NET Aspire application which I integrate MCP using LLM. Okay, so here see there is a two section. One is AI chat with MCP, and here actually it will return in two tools. Actually, I just implement two tools in the server, which is actually using that as MCP client in our Aspire application and .NET Blazor, so which will can interact with the LLM 3.2. Okay, and another section over here is setting. So there is a couple of setting actually I just placed it over here. One is local Ollama with the integrated LLM 3.2 model, and another section is GitHub models. I said the two settings is over there so that we can use it. So let me see first how actually working. So let me ask without using MCP. Okay, so what I will do, let me ask, okay, what is MCP? Okay, let me ask like this question over here. So it will be asked actually in this LLM and they will returning that answer. Now see, I am getting this result. Okay, I don't have a specific jokes. Okay, see, so what they trying to do. So as of now I'm just using these two tools, right? So once I've asked any question, if it is related to any of these tools, so they will checking. If it is not them, then it is saying, okay, unfortunately I don't have a specific joke about this MCP. So they're treating, okay, I'm just asking to just joke, right? But it is not joke, so that's why it is just saying, okay, I am not getting any response from this these tools like get joke tools. But what they did, they just giving something in their context. Okay, so like that, even if I ask let me ask like what is .NET, because let me ask some question related to our LLM. Okay, now see, I'm getting that another response which is returning of the tools like, okay, I don't have a specific joke about that, but yeah, they returning some .NET informations right over here. Now if I ask some joke about, okay, tell me, now I'm just calling the tools. Okay, and even I can see those are response as well over here. If you go to that Aspire application, if you're familiar with that, so there's a console, console log. If I go to service, so now see it is calling these tools and it is returning like, okay, jokes found this topic. Okay, and default message would be I don't have a specific joke about that, and .NET right now we are sorry. Okay, so this is just returning the tools, whatever the tools we have just implement. So the tools actually returning that there is a no jokes about, and then after that they using our local LLM and return that response properly. Similar, go back to here. If I ask that some question related to weather, like, okay, give me London city, so it should be give the it should be call another tool which is our now see, so it is now currently weather in London is sunny, right? And also they giving that some response. If you go back to here, just checked again that service log. So if you see the service log, you will see it is now it's calling another function which is weather function, right? So this is another tool actually, MCP server actually I just created. So they are calling this weather function and it's returning the data like it's London is sunny, right? So those are things actually we will implement in this session. And yeah, so let's go to implementation. So before implementation, I'm especially recommend, if you first time visit my channel, so which is a .NET real world example, you have to go to this setup actually, docker base docker setup, because I'm just currently using that local LLM, and later on I will use that GitHub model. But yeah, as of now I will use this local LLM. So you can just set up local using the docker or accept this docker, right? So it is a just LLM setup. And then also if you are interested in how you actually our .NET application working with the AI integration, so those are application those are session also is there, so which recently I just created those session, so you can check out so that you can get some idea actually how we can integrate our AI in our .NET applications, so you can easily understand over here, right? So now let me start to implementation. So first of all, what I will do, I will open a Visual Studio and create a new project. I will show you from that scratch so that you can understand. Okay, and also I will just take that this .NET Aspire starter project template, which you can just find over here. You can get it over here. Okay, and just choose this guy, next, and let me call it the name, and then it is fine, and then next, and make sure whatever that framework is do you have, you can use it. I'm using .NET 9 as of now, and I'm not using any radius caches on this time. But yeah, if you have all the setup container and all radius caches on, you can use it, but I'm not using this guy. Create. So once you complete creation of your default template of Aspire, now see, you will look like this is that default template project. So here let me tell you a little about over here, because I think you are aware, but I'm just telling something. Okay, so here there's a one web project which is using .NET Blazor application, and there is a service project, API service, which is a API service hosted project over here, and another one is in the hosting as per .NET hosting, which will actually coordinate with this this client and server. And this is actually that endpoint of their actually default service we are hosting over here, right? And this is another project which is contain that our test cases and all. Okay, and let me run this application so that you can see how actually it's behaving, right? So if it a default template, how actually running this this project. So run this application. Once make sure it's working perfectly in this default template, then we will start to implementation. Okay, now see, my application got running over here. This two project actually running, front end and back end. So this is my back end service and this is my front end service. So let me open the front end service, and here they default giving the counter, and this is better. So this better actually getting from this service, and that you, if you want to check, to go to that console, check that API service, and you can check it over here, right? So this is that API service, but you can check tracing log, and this tracing log you can see this is calling over from that client side, call that API service, better service, and it is returning the data, right? So something actually that default behaving. So what I will do, let me close that. I just make sure it is working fine, then we have to start the implementation. So first of all, what I will do, I will start MCP server in our API service project. Okay, and here I will integrate our tools. So let me install few package which is related to MCP server. So go to here, and whatever the package actually required. So I required one of that package which is a model context protocol, which is short form is MCP. Okay, so right click on that. Okay, so I already in the browser this section, and go to that MCP model context protocol. This is that one, and this is that right one. Okay, just choose this guy, install this. As of now it is a preview, so you can just install for learning perspective. Apply that, accept. So once you're done, now we are good to go to start create our tools. Okay, so for the tools, I'll just create a folder over here. Let me create a tools, whatever tools you want, so you can just create over here. Okay, let me create a spelling mistake, I guess. So tools. Okay, so let me create a tools folder, and in this tools folder I'll just create a two tools. One is the joke tools, another one is weather forecast tools. Okay, so let me add a tools for here, and let me create a class, make name it as jokes. Okay, and in the jokes, what I need to do, I have to just specify that static class, and we have to decorate actually this class as a MCP server types. So if you want to, so I have to use this attribute over here. So MCP server tools, which is coming from this model context protocol dot server, right? So I just decorate with this, and then I have to just create a one method which is called something see, it is automatically giving these things, but okay, let me use this. Okay, also it is providing some random joke, so let me as of now keep it removed from that. Okay, so let me just create this, and also we have to decorate method as well using MCP server tools, because it is indicating okay, this is coming from that MCP server tools. Okay, so how do you decorate? Simply you can just use MCP server tools and then put the description. Okay, and this is a get jokes, and in this get jokes what I will do, I'll just first add some logging over here, so that we can make sure our service actually calling over here and how actually behaving over that, right? So just that's why we have to just add in a few debugging things over here for understanding perspective. And also I have to just pass as a topics over here, because whatever topics actually I want, so based on this method, this tools service will be returning the jokes. Okay, and now let me create other things as well, so instead of wasting of time. Okay, so I just simply create a joke. Okay, so whatever actually once I call this tools from that client, MCP client, from that UI, so it will call this method and passing that topic, and they get the topic and they will just check it over here. As of now I'm just not put some logic over here so that they can filtering the jokes, but yeah, as of now they always returning, I don't have a nice specific joke, and then it will returning back to that message to their client. Okay, and yeah, that is fine. This is the way actually you have to create MCP server tools method. And then second one also I have to just create, for example, quickly let me create another tools, so that could be name as a better tools. Okay, so let me copy that name also. I don't want to type that name. Okay, so okay, that is wrong actually. Let me rename this guy. Okay, rename this guy from this tools. Yeah, that's it. Okay, and make it this static. And similar, we have to just decorate this class using this server tools types. And also we have to create a one method over here, like get weather using the city. See, again it's giving this nice sorry, this nice auto compilations. So let me use that. Okay, now see, it is just giving like that, but description, I think something missing over here, or just bring back that namespace over here for this description. So it is coming from system.component. Okay, and it is get weathers, and also it is returning the city and passing the city and similar things, right, which weather also returning over here. So like this way we can do that, our creating a tools. So once I complete the tool section, what I need to do, I have to create extension method where I can establish our server, MCP server, and resolve the dependencies and all. Okay, and also expose the endpoints. So what I can do, right click on that, go to here and just create another name which is called MCP endpoints builder extension. So let me make it name as like that. So I'll just create a MCP endpoint router builder extension. Okay, and again we have to make it this as a statics this extension method, because I have to use this extension method. And here, okay, so now I just create one I endpoint conversion builder. Okay, and just expose a one method, and using this is that extension method actually. So this is the I endpoint route builder over here. Okay, and what I can do, first of all I just create a SSC response transport variable over here. I have to declare this. Okay, and then I required two things to create our actually create the server, which is one is the logger factory and another is MCP options. So let me just create two things first as a service. So now I just created these two things. Now see, I'm using iLogger factory, and also another things I am just getting that service of MCP service options. So I just store this logger factory and MCP options. Okay, and then finally using this endpoint, I have to just use map route. Okay, I have to just create the map route group like this way. Okay, so whatever endpoints I have, whatever I get the 10 points over here, based on this I have to just create a map group as a empty one. okay, because I have to just create two endpoints over here. So first endpoint would be myself. So first endpoint would be over here, SSC. Okay, so route group map dot SSC, and then specify that response and that cancellation token. That's it. Okay, and here we have to decorate as a now response, whatever response content type and control cache we have to decorate. We have to set some property. So as of now I've just set the property of that event string and that, and then what I will do, I'll just create transport, a local transport over here using this response body. So let me just quickly create that local transport over here. So let's see, I'm just using the local transport, using whatever the transport. See, this is the transport. I'm assigning that value as well over here, even local variable also. Okay, and just create a new SS response stream transport and passing that our response dot body. Okay, whatever that response body we are getting over here, right? And then this is actually the final step where actually I just create our server. Okay, so the for server creation, let me show you one thing. Okay, so for MCP server factory, so it is providing me to here this MCP context protocol package, and see here they asking to there's a extension method which is that dot create, and in this create whatever the property I required. So I required, see, I required the transport, even I transport MCP server options and logger factory, right? So where is my transport? So let me call this transport over here. So transport is this only. So let me use the transport, and then second one is options. So where is my option, which I just already created over here. So use that options over here dot value, and then third one is a logger factory, so use that logger factory. Okay, and then close that, terminate this one, and just store as a server. So let me use create a variable to store the server. Okay, so now our server got ready over here, means I established the server over here, right? Then we will use this server to start or stop running this server. Okay, so for that what I need to do, I have to use try catch block over here, so that if any while running this server and all, if any exception, so we can capture those exception and all. Okay, so using the transport, using the transport, whatever the transport over here, right? So I can start running the transport. So dot transport dot run async. So see, some of the place I might be you can you can get some extension of create async. Okay, so that is also fine, because I observe I when I use that old package on previous session in this aspire.net, so that actually available for create, but as of now I'm just see this new extension, they got change actually the method name to run async method. Okay, and in this run async method you can just simply use that request upload it, right, which I just create over here. Means I just mention over here, so that I can just use it over here. If anything's wrong, so we can just upload that request, and I can store as a task. Okay, because it is not a, I will call this one as a parallelly, so that's why I'm just not using await async await, so just storing as a task. This is a task, and what I will do now, I will start the server. Okay, so let me start that server. So this is my server.run now. Okay, and here I just again using that abort request cancellation token, and then I am not required to actually store anything because we are not returning anything over here. So what I will do, I can use this time as a await async, and then finally what I can do, I can use, because see, I just create a task and then I run this server, and then finally I just call this transport, because I want to complete this server. Once I up that, then I can use the transport server, I can run this transport server. Okay, so like this way, this is the way actually you can just run your server with this endpoint, like SSC endpoint, and then if you have any message and all, like if you get any exception and all, you can just capture like this way. Like I'm just using the operation cancellation exception, and yeah, you can just capture like whatever the message and all, you can just capture, so that it is easy to logging and understand okay what kind of issue while running, and running this server and all. Okay, and finally you have to close uh, this. Okay, yeah, so because it is a lambda expression open, so let me close that. So this is the way. So once you complete this SSE endpoint, then we have to create another endpoint which is actually message endpoint. Okay, so let me just create that also. So let me create another endpoint which is called this guy, and similar I have to decorate this method using this. Okay, and inside this again we have to check something. Okay, so once you running this SSE method, so I have to check like this whatever the transport, right? So this transport, it should not be a null. Okay, so let me check the validation point over here. So I'm just checking, okay, if transport is null, so simply it is saying okay, connect to that SSE endpoint before sending this message, because that is dependent. Okay, so that's why I'm just putting some validations. And now second validation also I have to check like whatever request body message, right? So whatever request body message we are getting from that client, that should not be also null, right? So for that I have to just simply get that request body message using that current context. Okay, so using that context request read from JSON body, and passing our MCP options and all, and this guy. So I will get that message, and that message also I have to check like okay, it should not be null. If it is null, so definitely it should be a some message, okay, it is a bad request, something like that. Okay, this is straightforward. And then finally once I make sure okay everything is perfectly, like transport is available, message body is available, then I will proceed to transport our message. Like we have to call on one extension method which will be which will return that message. Okay, so how we can call it? That simply I can use that transport using that extension method. It is on message received message, be passing that message, whatever message I as a request, they will retrieving that message. Okay, so once you get that message, that means it is success. So I have to set that as a status code. Okay, it's got succeed. And then finally I just writing something as a response, like okay it is also is accepted. Okay, and then finally in this method, in this complete extension method, we have to return this route group, right, which we have to just create over here. Okay, so like this way we have to resolve or create extension method for this MCP endpoints, and we have to call this method in our in this program.cs file. Okay, and before run this application, okay, I have to use this. Okay, so now see it's auto populated, and I required the namespace. Actually I just create a new, so that's why it's asking to namespace. So now use this extension method over here, and this extension method, see it's I endpoint as a builder, so that's why it's no complaining. And yeah, so now one more thing, actually I have to just design over here. Okay, so now hello world, because I'm just creating a default endpoint for this application, this API server, so that once I run and we make sure okay our service is running properly. And even I can just add a date time as well, so that we can check that current date time. So using dollar sign I can concatenate over here, like date time dot now, right? Okay, and yeah, with the hello name, that's fine. Okay, save it. So now our server side, MCP server creation tools and dependencies and endpoints creation is completed. This is the way. Okay, one thing actually I observe this is not right, so let me just change it this name also. Okay, so that's all, and then let me build this application and make sure like there is no any compilation error or compilation error. So there is a no compilation error, it's fine. Then what I need to do, once your server is ready, API service side is ready with the MCP server, now we have to create a MCP client. So for MCP client, create over here this web application. Okay, so this is the web application. Here what I can do, first of all, to integrate AI integration, first of all we require AI integration in this web application. So for that we have to record some integration of the AI integration packages, so which I already explained my last session, so you can go to there. So for that what I will do, I have to just go to this, I have to install some packages for that. So let me uh, create some packages or install these packages. So first packages I required actually Microsoft extension AI. Okay, so this is a new package, actually this is a new extension package which is Microsoft, and this is allowed to integrate your AI integration in .NET application easily. Okay, so first package you have to install this guy. Okay, and after that, if you want to integrate your local Ollama, so there's another package related to this extension method. So I can use that Microsoft.ai Ollama extension. So because I want to use local Ollama, so I have to install this guy also. Install this. Now also I have to use some GitHub models, right? So the for that I have to record another extension, some packages and all. Okay, so for that I have to record OpenAI. So let me use that OpenAI package and install that, and I record Azure AI OpenAI extension, sorry, a OpenAI package also. So let me install that, and then also I record Azure identity, so use that. Okay, so install that. Don't worry, the whatever package we are using, when we writing a code I'll show you which code actually referring the bot packages. And then we record one other extension which is Azure AI interface. So let me use that AI interface of Azure extension, use this guy, and yeah, pretty much good. And now finally I required that one like MCP, right? So because I am using some client also, so I required actually MCP server package also because I have to use that client. So let me use this guy and install that. Okay, so now pretty much good. So all the packages side. So now go to that applications. Here I'll just create a one one component where I will implement, right? So let me create a component and make it this name AI AI chat MCP, right? So I just make it this name as of now, and we have to implement that 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 all that stuff over here. Okay, so first of all, what I can do, I have to just create few properties, because now this is actually creating we have to create integration, we have to start the integration. So for the integration perspective, what I need to do, I have to require few properties. For example, these are common properties, so which is indicate is loading, chat response, user questions, and error details. Don't worry, those property once I create over here, well I create a function and all, I'll use those property and be explain more. And next I have to require a chat client. Okay, so this is coming from Microsoft extension AI, it is coming from iChat client, right? And then I have to record few properties uh, which which indicate, okay, so like as of now I'm using two model, right, two mechanism. One is that local Ollama integration, and another one is a GitHub model, right? So for GitHub I required API key, but local one I don't require API key, so that's why I just create this three, and by default I am using that Ollama 3.2. And now another one, actually I required that whatever tools, I just create a MCP server tools, right? So for the tools I have to require this property, and this is also MCP tool. So bring back, see, it is coming from that client, right? So using that client to integrate the tools, okay. And yeah, and then finally whatever chat messages, right? So whatever the chat messages I want to store, so that chat messages I have to store as a collection. So I am using this, see, Microsoft AI extension chat messages, and then I create a empty list over here, initialize the list, and that final two injection I required, which can be helped to give that configurations and logger. So now see, this is a Blazor concept, like we can inject directly this I configuration service and also logger service, so that I can log the logging, and also whatever that configuration value, if I record, I can get it over here, I can set it. Okay, so now property create a property and define the property section is completed. Now moving to that implementation. So first this component I'll use that on initialize, so override use that override, and on initialize method. So use that on initialize async method, so which is a first method, first actually lifecycle method of this component. And here what I will do, I have to just create some client, like suppose it is dependent, right? So this component used for both client, like for example if I use GitHub model, or if I use local Ollama model, so I have to create a separate client. So that's why I have to just create another method to define, okay, which one actually this, okay, based on the setting. So let me just create a private method. So yeah, let me just create this method, create chat. And in this create chat, what I'll do, just let me try catch over here. Okay, try catch, and the try catch, first let me define some information, logging information. Okay, it is initialize that chat component, and then over here now I have to read this configuration value. So let me read and store this value from here. So let me like this way. So I'm just calling this configuration endpoint, configuration service, and then passing this endpoint and getting that name, what is that endpoint actually we are using. So I'm just storing these three variables, whatever is, and by default it will taking a llama 3.2, but yeah, whatever I am just setting, that will be prefer first. Okay, and once you set this three property, because this three property actually required to create your client. Okay, and then just finally not finally actually, just putting some other logs as well, like whatever endpoints I'm just receiving, and deployment name is model name, and API key also just put that logging. Okay, so once you're done, now I will start two section over here. One is create using that localhost. So if it is localhost, so what would be my configuration over here? So like this. So if endpoint, whatever endpoint I have, if it is contain the localhost, right, so that means I am using the localhost configuration, right? So in this case I have to just create our client, like local Ollama chat client, I have to create it over here, right? So for that it's simple, I have to just use this like Ollama chat client over here. And if you just bring back, okay, so me using this guy, Microsoft AI extension, so use that AI extension, and simply you can just create your client. Okay, and this client, see, this client I just prepare over here initially the property. So whatever client on the runtime, suppose it is a local host, so I will just create a local host client. If I use if I using that GitHub model, so they will create a GitHub model client. Okay, so client will be created on once you initialize this component, and then it will start to connect to server and AI Ollama. Okay, so now going to the else part, it is similar to else part also, and in this else part again I can check it over here if whatever API key, right? So that is a mandatory, so API key should be over there. So in this else part API key should be there. So once I get that API key, I can simply create a client over here like this similar way, but this time I will using that Azure AI interface chat client, because it is actually this method actually allow to give that that informations, means this overload method and all. Okay, and it's also required some, see, the Azure identity. So this is required, that Azure identity, so I'm using that, and this is use a as AI chat client interface. Okay, so that I have to record. So this is the right way. Actually you can just create another client for this GitHub model. So if you use the GitHub model, so that will be create a client for that also. Okay, and if it is API key is not there, so that time what I will do, I will use default uh, default client. Okay, so let me just create the default one. So now see here, so this section if I pass that API key, if we don't have API key, so that time I have to just create again AI chat compilation, and here let me copy, and also let me just get that Azure. This time I will use the simple Azure. Okay, because one is that GitHub model, one is that Azure. So in this Azure also we can use like this way. Okay, and in here I can use as chat model. Okay, so using that API key it will work, without API key also it will work, but it should be get only your Azure API or Azure things. Okay, Azure URL and all you required. Okay, so that is done, and then finally I think that's pretty much good, and yeah, finally we can just use exception, like we can just log the word exception over here as like this and use this guy. So now our create chat client is completed, so we can use this create chat complete over in our initialize method. So let me just call this guy, right? And now once our client got created, right? So this client got created. Now if I ask any questions in this UI, so that it will trying to connect the tools, MCP client call to that MCP server and get the tools information, and they will returning back that response. Okay, so how we can use it? So for that I have to use actually I just created tools, right? So whatever that MCP client I am just using, right, as of now, so I am not injecting MCP client, so let me just inject that MCP client over here. So let me inject over here. Okay, so I'm using that MCP client, and this MCP client using the tools and just storing the tools. Okay, I'm getting a compilation, right? Because see, as of now I'm using await, so it's required async. So using await async, so put it that your method name as a await async, and we don't require this guy, so I can remove this. Okay, so now you are also assigning the tools, whatever that MCP tools over there, you can assigning the tools. And then finally what I need to do, I have to just create a system message over here. Okay, so that message, actually that system message, which I can indicate okay what kind of actually message or what again assistance actually we required. Okay, so I just create simply chat message. So see, I'm just creating chat message, I'm using that as a system role, I'm just mention the system, and also I'm just mention okay what kind of actually your assistant. So you are a helpful assistant, you always replies using the text and emoji, you never generate HTML or markdown, you only to do what you ask you to do. If you don't have a function and to answer a question, you just answer questions. Okay, so like that, actually I'm just give that some prompt over here, a default prompt, and that initialize part is done. Now what I can do, I have to create one other function which I can, once I try to hit, so that I can use it. So for that, ask question, let me just create a ask questions over here as a method where I can just hit that I can just call our LLM and get that answer and all, because now client is ready, everything is ready. Now I have to call that client, right? So for that also again require try catch, and in this try catch, first I'll just use is loading is true, because once I just hit enter on that UI which I show the demo, right? Once I click the send message button or enter, so it should be start is loading. That means you can't do anything in this time. And then also it's got change, like whatever the property if I want to change, so I can use it, this state got changed, so that property got changed in this component. Okay, and then first I have to check the client, it should not be null. Okay, because whatever client I just ready using this initial label, it should not be null, right? So if it is null, so definitely it should be a throw an exception. Okay, with the log message. And then I have to set that questions over here. So let me just whatever questions, so whatever question user will send, so see whatever I initialize this property user question, so I'll just store one, I'll just create that HTML. So I'll take a value from that user question, whatever user type, like tell me the jokes or tell me that current weather and all, right? So those will be stored in the user question, and that I have to pass, and I create chat messages over here as a user. So as a role I define the user, and then I pass that questions. Okay, and once you're done, now first user question will be empty over here. Okay, because whatever user question they ask, if I store over here, then I have to just clear this text box. Okay, and once you're done, now this is that final section where I just call that client. Okay, so let me call that client, not like that. Okay, remove that client dot get response. Get response, see there's a get response and there's a get steam response. Okay, so both you can use it, but as of now I will not use that one, because I previously I just explain everything. It will take a little time, so that I want to save it over here. Okay, so get response, I will use the get response which will complete response, and then it will return back. Okay, and oh my god, so that is not required actually, auto completion, that is okay. So here what I can do, I have to just pass our chat message, whatever I just prepare over here. First I have to pass that. Now second I have to pass, now see there's a couple of overload method of this get response, right? So let me check the tools one. So where is the tools ones? Okay, so somewhere it is defining a tools. So I think it is the second one only, not this one, this. Okay, so one is that, the second one is the options. Okay, and then second one is the options, chat and options, and third one also message, enumerable message, and then options, and third one. Okay, yeah, so see second property is a chat options, right? So that will be as a chat options properties, that we can indicate as a that one only. Okay, the tool section. So simply I can just create options over here, like for example let me create a new, right, anonymous function. I can just create an anonymous function, and here just I can define as a options. See there's a option section, so there's a many things over here in this option. So I will use the tools, right, and in this tools I can define our tools. So let me use whereas I define the tools. Okay, so I define the tools over here, so let me pass the tools over that. Okay, like this way actually I have to call our client, and this is a asynchronous method, so I have to decorate with a wait, and I can store as a where response. So like this way I can just keep store that response based on that calling. Okay, so once you're done, simply I can just logged our response message as a debug perspective, and then I have to store that whatever response I'm just getting, right? So it is a string, okay, chat response, right? And the chat response I have to just add in our in this chat messages list. Okay, so I'm just simply add that response, whatever response I'm getting, and finally I have to change that state so that whatever property I want to update, like whatever property I want to update it itself. And in exception section I have to just use that logging so that I can get any exception. If I get an exception, so I can debug and fix it quickly. And I also use over here as a finally block, so that once I complete everything or any exception and all, so it should be released our is loading loader, and also update our properties accordingly. Okay, so now our method or implement code part is completed. Now we are moving to our HTML part. Okay, and for HTML part, let me just create a page title, for example this. So this is my page title, and here let me copy somewhere that complete design, like as like we saw in our initial demo, right? So this is that complete HTML. Okay, so I just create a chat container, and this is a chat container, bubble chat container assistant, and this is our model name, which actually I given one div over there. There's some collection or information, right? So those are information actually over here, and here see here actually that main part. So once I get any information, so tools information, so whatever tools I have, so that tools also I have just appearing over here using their comments and all. Okay, so these are a section, but here does whatever just response I'm getting that from the chat response. So here I'm just populating over here as this role, whatever role I'm just defining, and then role, based on the role defining, I'm just removing that some regression exception. So let me bring back that namespace for that. Okay, and yeah, and then finally once I converted a message and all, and then I have to prepare in this tip. Okay, so this is actually message finally we are returning over here as a content, and this is that function called, and function response and all, right? Whatever response and all also we are set it over here, like tool result, right? As like our JSON response. So those are section also we are decorate. So this is just HTML part. Don't worry, I'll provide this complete HTML to you in our GitHub link, so you can take it. But yeah, it is just if you get your response, right? So how you can just prepare an HTML or in your design. So that is what actually it is. Okay, so that is done. Now second things, actually I also I have to just indicate actual loading indicator, right? So that also I have to record. So let me add some loading indicator also, like if it is a loading indicator, like so loading indicator moving over here. And that final section I required that input text box, right? So that input text box also, like see it is giving also auto completion, but yeah, this is input text box. So this is the input text box where a user can input, and this is a click submit button. And this submit button actually I am using this ask question, which is I just prepared this question, this method, right? And once you're done, if I any error and all, also I'm just storing over here. Okay, so this is a design, and yeah, that's fine. So once you complete, now I think it is working as a fine without any issue. But yeah, for design perspective it still is not good, I guess. So yeah, let me just run this application and then see what are things we required more in this application. Okay, and yeah, one more thing actually I have to do. have to call this as a page. I have to decorate the route of this component. So let me decorate is AI chat, right? And that also I have to use in our navigation. So go to that layout, navigation, and just call it to some navigation property, change it, go back, copy this, change to reference, and also change to here as a AI chat MCP. Okay, and yeah, pretty much good. But yeah, one more thing actually I required, the resolve the dependency. So go to that program.cs file. Here actually I resolve that MCP. I resolve the dependency of MCP client. So those are things actually also we have to handle of it over here. So what you need to do for that, over here we have to add a MCP client. Okay, so let me add that MCP client over here. So let me just comment it first, like this is a MCP client section, so that once I share this one, you can get that code over there. So first let me use that builder dot services dot add singleton. I'll just register as a singleton, and in this singleton I have to use MCP client. Okay, because I have to register this, and here I have to use SP service provider and in my implementation over here. So first I have to just create MCP client options. Okay, let me create it that, and here MCP client option I'm just putting that our ASP.NET Core SSC client over here with whatever version I'm just specify over here, right? And then we have to create a HTTP client over here using like this way, and in this HTTP client actually there is a base address, and in this base address you have to go to create a new, and then you can specify as a URI like this way. But sometime if it is not working, so what I can do, I can simply pass our URI over here like this way, close it. Okay, so where you get that URI, so go to that your service section over here, go to that properties, go to launch settings, and this is actually your URI. Okay, so use this guy, copy this, go back and change it to over here. Okay, that's it. And in the last you have to call SSE actually, which we have to create in our uh, builder route builder, right? So those section you have to call it over here, and then once it's done you can close that. So next we have to set some MCP configurations. So let me just create MCP configurations variables over here, and yeah, also it's required few configurations, like for example ID, right? And what would be the ID would be something like whatever name you can just want. So you can just name it over here. So I'll just name it for example SP.NET Core SSC. Okay, and then name would be like this, and just use other property for like that. Okay, so now I just mention, okay, this is that name and this is the name. Okay, and I think it is sufficient. Okay, what? Okay, okay, yeah, I think this is fine. Transport type is SSC, right? And location would be your base address to string over there. And finally you can close that settings. And now you have to create MCP client factory again over here. Okay, so let me just create as like we create a server, right? So similar I have to just create over here MCP client factory, use that MCP client factory dot create async, and in this create async make sure over here all that things you are just already over there. So like MCP configuration over there, and then options, right? And we don't require like that actually, so let me close that. Okay, and dot get awaiter, right? And get result. Okay, because this time I'm not using any synchronizing over here, so that's why I'm using this way. And we can use as a MCP client, right? Storing as a MCP client, and simply I can return this MCP client like this way. Okay, and this is fine. So now you just configured your MCP client in our client side, right? Like this way. And this is one. Now anything else we have to do over here? Let me check quickly. Yeah, one more thing I think. No, I think we are good over here, because everything we are handling in the service side, and service and client side also. The Aspire actually they are maintaining everything, like they are over here, like how to they connecting this, client and server side. So I don't think we have to do anything else. So yeah, let me build it. Yeah, before running, actually one thing I forget to over here. So see, before running you have to uh, run your local Ollama. Okay, so as of now I'm just set up my Docker, okay, over here, but you can just install your locally as well. So make sure there is Ollama is running in your locally, so that they can interact with this Ollama model in the locally. So that I just set up over here. Okay, one more thing actually I just forget to mention to that setting page, right? Because as I show you the setting page, or let me run this so that you can get some idea what are the missing actually. So my application got running and both app and backend is running. So once I just check that first service side, so once you service side open, now see service is running perfectly. And once I open that this side means application side, so finally I got them error, right, which is saying okay, it is not properly actually does not implement in this MCP client tool. So let's see what is the issue. So let me close that application and go back to your application. And yeah, if you scroll top, so here I'm just creating chat, right? If you go to the chat, so scroll down here, now see I'm using AI. Okay, so this is that initialize life cycle method, and this is calling that create chat. And if you go to this chat method, I mean scroll down, so basically actually I'm using this as iChat client, right? So this is actually creating a problem just because I'm using upper version. So in previous actually whenever I tested, so I'm using that one minus lower version. So there is a no using that iChat as iChat client, that is using an I as chat client. So that is not supported with this latest version, that's why it's creating a problem. So what I need to do, go to that packages folder, and here I'll just change it to this 9.4 version to 9.3 version. So that is actually that solution as of now for now. But actually that whatever latest version actually they're providing, so I have to do some more analysis and all to fixes that issue. But so far actually whatever demo I just showing you, so I'll just fix like this way, and later on we'll check that what is that new extension method they provide, how we can implement that. Okay, so let me change this only this to 9.3 version instead of 9.4. Okay, and save it, and we are good to run now. So let me run this. Yeah, I'm getting the error. Let me go back to here. Okay, yes, so I have to fix that extension method to that old extension method as chat client. Okay, and then we are good to go to run. And this is my server one, so run the server is running. Even once I click that client, so client also is running here. And once I click that AI chat MCP, now see, now it's loading properly, there is no error, but one error is over here. So that because so this endpoint is missing, right? That endpoint is missing just because as of now this chat client actually using that configuration, so that configuration is missing. So as I show the demo, I'll show another section, another component, which is setting section, where I can set that which configuration I want to use it. So that I want to use it first, then I can just run this application. Okay, so let me close that and let me build that first, like that setting page. Right click on that, create a setting page, create a new component, and let me build that name as a settings and start. And in this setting page, what I do, I simply create a component where actually I can set our settings and all, right? So for that, first actually I need to few properties over here. For example, this three property, like what is that endpoint, what is the API key, and what is the deployment name, means what is the model name. So that I am asking from that user, and then finally store as a save message. Okay, and I'll just injecting another one, uh, I configuration one. Okay, and then I just create a initialize method over here, and yeah, in initialize method, on initialize method I'm just setting that whatever that configuration endpoint API key and all, so I'm just by default it's taking over here. And then I'll just create a save method over here. So this is my save method, save settings, right? Whatever the settings, like whatever the user I can input, I can assign this is our configuration service, I configuration service as a, and then later on I can use it in our AI chat client. Okay, and now I have to create some other method to use, like for example set GitHub models defaults. So it's just by default I'm just using this, and similar I will use Ollama one. And this Ollama also I'm just using the uh, default localhost and model, right? So that's it. And then I also actually I have to create now the design. So what would be the design? First I'll just ask to user input that three property. So this is the three property. I'm just create a div, remove that. So input as a endpoint, URL, deployment name, and API key. Okay, these three things. And then I'll just create three buttons over there, means three input three submit buttons. One is save, submit, and set Ollama, and set GitHub models. Okay, so this is the three buttons. And I'm just giving some instructions. If any issues and all, go to that GitHub links and all, right? So that GitHub tokens and all. So if you want to create a token and all, so this is the little things. And finally I'll set any error and all, so I'll just set that error over here. And I have to add the route over here. The page route over here is for the array settings. And one more thing, actually I have to do that render mode in this component. Okay, so let me add the render mode. That's it. Okay, so now setting is got ready, and now we are good to go for here. But still, see, there's some style and issue. So let me just create a style also, so that it should be look better instead of an ugly design. So what I can do, let me use CSS and choose this guy, and here I can make it same name, settings dot razor dot css file. Okay, and make sure this is inside this setting page, and I'll just put some setting some style over here. So this is little bit style I have already handy, so I'll just put it over here, and simply I just design my form. That's it, nothing else. Okay, and one more thing, actually we'll do that for AI chat component, right? Also there's a not a right uh, right design, right? So that also I have to create another design for that look feel better. So let me choose again CSS and just make it name AI chat chat MCP dot razor dot css file. Okay, and make sure it should be inside. Yeah, also it is inside that. And we have to add some design CSS style over here. So I have already handy, don't worry, I'll share these things in my GitHub link so you can take it. So these are just style. Okay, I'm not going to style things. So yeah, that is fine. And anything else missing? I think it's pretty much good. So let me run this application. Okay, now my application got running, but yeah, I think one thing I forget. So I have to add one more navigation for the settings. So no, don't worry. As of now, I can just use directly over here, or just show me without using setting what we have, right? So click on that AI chat. Now see, now it's look feel better, but I'm getting that error just because endpoint is null. That is obviously because I have not set any endpoint. So for setting that endpoint, so you have to go to that setting page. I think setting, yeah, this is setting component, and here by default if you set default Ollama, it will get it, and if you set the model one, so here if you don't know how you can create a API key and all for GitHub model, you can go to this link, you will get that information. Okay, so as of now I already set up everything, so my Ollama is running in my Docker container, and also if I show you, see, Ollama is running perfectly in my local, and there is a model also available at 3.2, that also you can check it over here, and Ollama list. So see, it is available my Ollama 3.2 over there. So those are things actually should available. If you don't know about this process and all, go to my channel, you will get that one of the session where I just everything I explain in and set up. Okay, now moving to set that Ollama and save it. Now it's saved successfully. Now go back to chat. Now see, that error has been gone. Okay, now I can ask that question. Okay, what is the current weather in London, right? So if you ask this question, you chat. Now see, it is calling to my tools, which is the weather tools, and get that response over there. Okay, now it is reaching to I already put the debugger point, so it is, see, it is calling that get weather tools over here, and I'm also getting the city London. And if you here now see the message prepare for the current weather is London, is this is a by default weather, but yeah, you can put your real data over here and just continue, so you will get that response. Yeah, here see, unfortunately I don't have a real time access of current weather condition, but I can stack over here. Now see, I'm getting that this response, but assistance also provide that some informations over there, and also you can check it if you go back to console and go to that particular service. So see, this is that our tools calling and get that response, and based on the response also it is calling an Ollama and give that information. I don't have real access of that weather, and then now this is that response. Okay, so now this is the way you can call that your tools. Even now I'll show you that another tools, like how we call this one. So just specific that, okay, tell about monkey. Okay, and once you access, okay, now see, now it's going to that jokes tools and continue, so you will get that seems, okay, seems joke service is not available. So here's the classic one, why here the joke. Okay, so they are giving that some random jokes, and also see, this is that response of that your tools. I don't have joke about that monkey, even that you can check also in your service section. So go to the service section, see, now it's calling to the joke one, right? So like this way you can integrate your MCP server and clients in your .NET applications easily. So before closing this session, what I will do, I'll just add this complete repository in my GitHub link so that you can get access. So let me add this over here. Okay, aspire.net MCP. So this is that name, and also I'm just change it to public because many of that repository I forget to make it public, so they are asking in my comment section. So yeah, don't worry, if you don't have any access and all, please ask me and create that. So now finally you will get that this repository in my GitHub link. So yeah, that's all for this session. Thank you, have a nice day, and don't forget to like, subscribe and share.